Hey, what's up, y'all? How y'all guys doing? Hey. So today I'm going to be talking. We're going to talk Philly, and there are some issues that have been brought to my attention that I want to make sure that I'm addressing. So give me a few minutes. Give me a few minutes. But I'm hoping that everybody is having a great a great Saturday so far. Um, so I'm gonna be getting started in a few seconds. I'm excited. I actually have a few people that will be getting on today. I'm super excited to add them to my live because these issues that I'll be talking about will be issues that a lot of people are talking about at this moment. A lot of people want to talk about the bigger issues within the world, but we got to address the issues that's happening directly in our city and right now in our city. Um, and that goes on with the list of things that we can be addressing. That's the homicide rates that we have in our city, reopening our schools. I really want to talk politics, to be honest, within this live, which I'm definitely going to address with some of the things that I've been hearing and seeing. Um, but the homicide rate is a big issue for me. So I have lost friends, family members, co-workers, etc., to senseless gun violence within our city. So that's a big issue that I'm having. Hey Brene, hey Dania, hey Charlotte, how y'all guys doing? It's crazy, Charlotte. I'm actually going to add you in a few minutes. So um, I just want to give y'all some information. As of last night, the updated stats for homicide rate in the city of Philadelphia is 286, and that's year to date, which is this month. That is insane for me. You're talking about us. We're losing our children, our children, our mothers, our fathers, our brothers, our sisters, cousins, uncles. Some of us have lost grandfathers in reference to this craziness that we have within our city. And I think it's ridiculous. I really do. So those are the issues. Yeah, like I just think we need to address those issues. Charlotte, I can't even see you on here. I'm trying to add you in um, because I see that you've been very vocal with a lot of these issues that we're having in our city. What do you think attributes to usually high homicides in our city? That can be a lot of things, Vern. Um, but just the poverty in general is a major thing that we have in our city. And let me just note before we get on the homicide rate and I add people in to this live, I just want to say something. If anything, we need to be supporting our police commissioner, Commissioner Outlaw. Um, she was asked to take on a position that not she's highly qualified for, but she was not ready for. She doesn't know our city, and they put her in this position and asking her to change it within a quick time when she came in one of the most unprecedented times, and when our murder rates were already at an all-time high. So, in order for her to do her job effectively, she's going to need the support from us. And that's just the reality. Hold on, let me add. I'm gonna add Charlotte in. Give me 1 second, cause I have a few questions for her. Viewer. Charlotte. Charlotte, I sent you an invite to come in. Hey, Miss Tripline, how you doing? Got her. She's about to.
Hi. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Tired, a little tired, but definitely frustrated with a lot of issues that been brought to my concern within the
Can
last.
you hear me pretty good? Because I think it's you kind of distorted just a little bit.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay.
So, Charlotte, I got a question for you, and maybe you can give my followers a little bit of your views. As I've been seeing that you've been very vocal um, on a lot of these issues that I've already addressed on the live. How do you feel about the homicide rate, and what do you think we can do um, in order to, you know, get our homicide rate? What are some things we need to address?
Hold on. I think I'm gonna have to get my headphones because I could barely hear you. Can you hold just a second?
Sure. Listen, as we wait for Charlotte to come back, I want to say something real quick. And this was also um, people always issue up. At, oh, this is a
Okay, I'm back.
you're back. By the way, I just love the area.
It's loud in here.
It is Saturday.
All right. We can't let that stop us. All right. What was the question?
So the question that I have for you is, what are some of the issues that we can address in order to break down that we have, or just speak on how you feel about that, just our homicide rate that we have in our city.
There we go. You don't understand. Somebody cutting grass, TV loud, and everything. All right. So I hate for you to repeat yourself, but I really need to hear.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Great, great. So I stated earlier in the live about how our homicide rate is 286 right now, which is a 30% from last year of this month. So
Yes.
So how do you feel about that? And what are some of the issues that you think we can address in order to bring it down?
Okay, so I'm gonna just start with how I feel about it. I think I feel just like any other Philadelphian. You know, I'm not gonna answer this question like a politician or a community activist. I'm gonna answer this question like a person who live in these communities where these things are happening. So what I feel about it is not enough direct services. It's not enough dissemination of service. So it's one thing to tell someone you can go A, B, and C, you can go here and there, but you turn your back and you walk off and you go home. I don't think it's enough of us being the village and showing people exactly how to do it. So that's one of my feelings. I think that we don't have enough people on the ground at that front door. Forget canvassing. We're not talking about canvassing. We're talking about providing direct services to people. So one of the things that I think can happen is we have to quit asking gangsters and former gangsters or people who've been in prison to come out and in a community where people are elected to take care of those communities, or people who live in those blocks in those communities. Why do we have to continue to get them to go and rule and govern our community? Now we know some of them are reformed and they're looking to help in any way that they can, but we need healing. We don't need help. And a lot of them who just got out of prison, they need healing as well. We have been through an astronomical amount of trauma, post traumatic slave syndrome. So until we address the mental health issue of this, we can't continue to have people to bring people who need help or healing themselves to come and patch up our communities. So that's where I'm at with that.
I agree with you 100%, Charlotte, that it has to start with us. And that was one of the reasons I started my initiative, Ronnie Use One, and just getting my block captain initiative together. What people fail to realize is that we are the real badges of our community. And, for a long time, we have been, drawn out of not only the political process, but not having a seat at those tables on real issues. And I know a lot of the political figures say, "Oh, we have these town halls," or "Oh, we try to bring y'all to the table." But the reality is, y'all guys have your own separate table outside of the table that y'all so called try to bring us to. Um, I'm just saying, I'm from 23rd and Diamond, so it. And I'm not trying to say that our streets are bad, but it really doesn't get any worse than that. I have lost a lot of my old students, a lot of my friends, within the last 6 months on those corners. Um, and for me to get those phone calls when I was in California, like, "Hey, did you know X, Y, and Z died? Hey, did you know which color just got killed?" Or seeing it on my social media, and then them asking me, "What are we supposed to do?" And I'm sitting here like,
Let's take a step back though. Let's look into the areas where the crime is happening. So there's an initiative that's underway that is grassroots only, and I'm not going to reveal who the council person is, but at this time, because I want to do the PSA announcement, I want to do the PSA with my community partner. So we're supposed to do a PSA. And what I just told you about the direct services, we're going to be flooding all of 10 of the communities that's been listed as the high crime areas, okay? And I just wanted to just say that before I'm going to say what I'm about to say. Let's look at the areas where this crime is happening. Let's look at the elected officials. When you called me and you talked to me and you said, Charlotte, let's talk about this, let's talk about that. And when I was taking a shower, you think of everything when you're taking a shower, right?
"Yeah, you did."
And something just hit me. I saw this thing that says 17 rising stars in the national, and one of those 17 rising stars is in Philadelphia, in North Philadelphia, and he's a representative in those areas. And guess what? His area is the one with the most violence, and no one is questioning him. So, you have Representative Kenyatta, Malcolm Kenyatta. You have Congressman Dwight Evans. You have State Senator Sharif Street. And you have Representative Donna Bullock. I will tell you this: we should come beyond and move beyond handing out food. We have given those initiatives to the people who we've given money to from the Office of Violence and Prevention. Okay, we've given those monies to those community leaders who could do that. We need legislation. We need people to think outside the box. It is nowhere in the world that we are praising these elected officials who are in these areas where these high crimes are happening. Why do we have to go into the community in those areas and take care of those matters?
Real quick, it's crazy. I was speaking with a friend of mine who lives in that community, 181, and where Malcolm, the Rising Star, I see him.
Oh, yes. Yes.
I
Okay.
calling out people's names. I can really care less about how they feel. Um, I love Donna Bullock. I love some of our political figures that you just named. But let me just touch on Malcolm real quick. And in the area that you're talking about that has one of the highest crime rates in the entire city, um, he was given that seat. And and I'm sorry to just bust everyone's balls, but he was really given that seat because he's someone that's able to be controlled.
Mm-hmm.
I stated in one of my posts earlier that a lot of these political figures don't really like people that they can't control, or they won't support people that they cannot control, or that they have no influence over. Uh,
Absolutely.
so for him, first and foremost, let me be really, really clear. He's not from that area. I lived in North Philadelphia my entire life. I've never even heard about him. And I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I'm
Yeah.
really not saying that. What I
Me
am
either.
saying is he is not the guy for North Philly. He has not
Right.
lived in those streets long enough to know the struggles that we go through. He has not really
Right.
put up with a lot of the struggles that we have been through. So to put someone who might look politically good in that area is really serving us ineffectively. Like, he's not really effective as a rep. Um,
Right.
and again, I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I'm just saying he's not the right guy for that
Right.
particular area. I spoke with someone, Jenny. She lives in 181, and I said to her, "Hey, I want to go down to a rally that they're having about senseless gun violence, which is hosted by council member King Otter Johnson, who I really
Right.
respect him. He's one of those council members that I can say that I could physically pick up and call a cell phone and say, "Hey,
Yes.
Kenyatta, this is the issues." And again, he doesn't represent North Philadelphia. He represents South Philadelphia, but he's also one of those people that gives me the resources that I need for this area if I call him. And again,
But he's over public safety though, so that's his responsibility.
right, and I
So
agree. Um, but she said to me, "Why are they having a rally in Center City, not having a rally where these issues are actually
my
happening?"
point exactly.
And I agree with her on that behalf. And the problem is that you have a lot of these political figures who get on this television and say, "Oh, I'm for the senseless gun violence," or I'm not for it. Like, I want to make sure that these things are addressed, but y'all guys are really not taking the initiative to address it. Y'all guys are not taking it to where it needs to be. You're not taking it to these street corners. I'm one of those people that are not afraid to go on here to these people that are actually doing these gun shootings. Like, yo, y'all some nut dudes. I have done it. I will continue
Right.
to do it, because I have nieces, I have sons, I have nephews that are walking down these streets that are really afraid to go to these corner stores at night, or these Chinese stores, because they're afraid of what they might encounter.
Right.
If I might see a gun, someone might shoot, and they might just be outside walking to the store, but at the wrong place at the wrong time. A lot of those, people that have been murdered within the last 6 months have been students and friends of mine, and those are people that I know for a fact that are not into that lifestyle. And I know people say, "Oh, but they did this and this and that," but I know these people are personally on a personal level and say that they really are not into those lifestyle. People that I know have got killed and has been into the lifestyle. Granted, I'm never going to say, "Oh, well, he was a saint." No, I'm not going to sugarcoat any of it. But you're talking about kids. You're talking about 14-year-olds, 16-year-olds.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that it's not possible that 16 and 14-year-olds carry guns, because I know some 14 and 16-year-olds that does.
I
But
know 11-year-olds
I'm
that does.
also,
So
and 11, I'm talking about, I'm be honest with you, I know 10-year-olds that are,
yeah.
but you don't have any of those leaders or any of those old heads anymore that say, "Hey, listen, young boy, you carrying that gun for what?" I'm
Well, let's be frank. Can I be frank? Because I know that I don't want to steal your show, but I gotta be honest. And it's time for people to hear the truth. Some of these old heads are giving the guns to these young people.
Yeah.
Like, that's the truth. And I found that out about what, 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I found out a lot of these. And what actually happened is I told a story of how I was on the corner. So I was doing prayer and handing out resource packets about 4 or 5 years. And one time I encountered a corner where, they were selling drugs and I was interrupting their flow. Okay. So one of the drug dealers or whoever, I don't call them drug dealers. I just call them people who sewing up the block to make money. So he came to me and said, listen, I know, I see what you're doing. I see you handing out resources. I see, you being positive and all. What, and start flipping through my stuff. Like, what is this? Okay, so I'll bring some of my people out to get help and all of this kind of stuff. Someone else would have been very scared, and someone else would have been probably never came back. But my point was, regardless, he walked out, told me I'm gonna let other people know, and they came to get the resources, and I helped them. That's what makes me want to come back, because he saw I was no threat. And what has to happen is people want to scream and yell. You listen. There is a pecking order. If you do not know the pecking order, let me just share something. I'll be frank with you again. I'm not from Philadelphia. I'm not from North Philadelphia. My husband's been here for 30 something years, and he was always everybody something before they something. So he the one taught me about the streets. Okay, he taught me everything to go on. So that's how I knew that the representation that was in those areas, I'm not going to use the word I want to use, but they were just put there because you can't handle what's happening in those areas.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going on. So without saying so much to those people that are out there, you have to just know how to. You have to be a person. Listen, we're talking all this politics, but you just really at the end of the day have to be a down to earth person who's willing to just help. I'm not trying to scare nobody.
I'm being,
That's not me.
I remember, and I'm not that old, but I definitely remember at a time where women and kids were off limit. Now these women or kids are not off limit. It's crazy because some of these women are shooting people, um, and I don't understand how we're okay or numb to the situation where pregnant women, are getting murdered, kids that are under 5 or under 10, kids in general are being murdered, and we being okay with that. I was
Well, I don't think people are okay with it though. I won't say that. I'll tell you what happens. They just don't know what to do. They don't know what to do.
I'm saying that we just marched in protest for, and I'm not. It's nothing against George. I'm gonna be honest. We just marched and tore our city apart for George.
Yes.
But we had a
Yes, we
7-year-old that got murdered. We had a
yeah.
6-year-old, and ain't nobody hit the streets.
No.
That's bullshit to me.
Pockets. They all in their own areas. That's where they are. They're in their district, and it's no togetherness. And if you really think about it, though, if you be honest, the only people who you saw out there really fighting on the line were the white people. They were out there flooding the streets. Okay. It goes to show you, most of them don't care nothing about our community, so they're not gonna raise hell. And then while they was marching and protesting and saying defund the police, our people was looting with them. And it wasn't just our people. Don't get me wrong. It was a lot of them white people out there, but that's who was on the front line.
Yeah,
That's who was on the front line.
let me just get into the defund the police. I think that's the worst idea they can possibly ever think of. Do I think they need to defund them? No. Do I think they need to get a full investigation within our Philadelphia Police Department? Absolutely. Again, like I said about Commissioner Outlaw, she was put in this position not knowing what she was getting into, and then just getting into a city where she's now trying to pull everything together, and really not having the full resources to do it. Um,
Or the internal discord. People keep forgetting the discord between the FOP and the DA's office. Like she said that I have to deal with internal issues first before I can even get to the out to external things.
I
So I understand.
I really top my hat off to Commissioner Outlaw to accepting the job during these unprecedented times, and when our city's in an uproar, she came in and she's not afraid. A lot of people are against, and I'm telling any of my followers, and any of my followers that would like to share this with their followers, I'm telling you that she needs our undivided support during these times, because she's at a task where she really needs all of our support. And any resources that, or anything that y'all guys feel like y'all can share with her, or any information that y'all feel like y'all can share with her, call her office, let her know, because she really wants that information. And again, I have never encountered or had a conversation with her, but just me seeing what she's been doing, and really just paying attention to not only her speeches but the way she's moving within our city. really commend her. Um,
Yeah,
Charlotte,
kudos to her.
I just want
Yeah,
to say,
kudos to her.
we're number two. We're number two in the entire nation in murder, in the murder rate, but we're only number five in population. I think that's completely insane.
Yeah.
I think it's completely insane. Um, and I just want to note that of how that's a failed leadership to me. I call it failed leadership.
Yeah.
Let's talk politics real quick. You ran for the 181, uh,
Yes.
which we were just talking about that district. Um, do you agree that it's time for some new leadership?
Across the board or in that district?
Just in general, across the board.
Yeah, in general, across the board, yes, and in particular in that district. I think the team for the 195th, the 197th, the 190th, the 181, the 180, all those districts that are surrounding each other, I think that these people need to
I
be
agree.
revamped.
I'm sorry.
Yes, with who? Oh. Okay, so these people need to be revamped because I'm gonna tell you one thing that's gonna happen. We're living in a society where the climate is changing. We don't really know what's gonna happen politically once this election is up. So we really can't dive into what needs to happen until these key components are moved around. But these people are a clique, and clicks are not always good. I could be a brand new person in the district, and as soon as I attach myself to that click, I should be denounced. I should be denounced. Given an opportunity, if given a chance, a person that goes into a district like that, where you have Senator Street, where you have Malcolm Kenyatta, where you have, I mean, it's supposed to be a dynamic thing. Councilman Clark. That is the super rich part
I'm,
of our Philadelphia, and it's going to change because they're allowing it to change.
Let me be honest with you. I just want to say something about how I say again how I think it's felt leadership. They're supposed to be a dynamic crew alone. You're talking about complete leadership. You're talking about Malcolm being a state delegate who just gave a keynote address at the presidential nominee Democratic convention. You're talking about somebody that's a high level profile from our city. You're talking about Sharif Street, who, if I'm not believing, who is the vice chair of the Democratic committee. Then you're talking
Yes.
about Errol Clark, who's the president of our council, and you're talking about a part of, and he runs a frequently large district, including downtown. Come on. And then you have Donna Bullock, who has been working non-stop within the state house. And you're a black woman. Come, like,
A lawyer, an attorney.
and if I'm not,
One of the first made history.
and I believe her husband
And
too, right?
yes.
And again, I love Donna. I would never speak,
Oh, I do
never
too.
speak against her. I really love her personally.
But you got to think about what camp she comes out of, you know.
She comes out. She comes out of that Clark administration. I know firsthand. But again, you're talking about them being a dynamic crew, and that particular area of North Philadelphia is failed. It's failed.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
failed. I think they need to step up, and if they don't step up, I think we need to remove them.
Right.
Period.
It's either two ways. We have the opportunity. We have the choice now. That's why I said once we figure out after this November 3rd, if it's supposed to be November 3rd, I don't want to put no conspiracies out there. But the way our POTUS is going, it seems like he's slowing things up. But after we find out what happens, it needs to. But we need to start working now to start figuring out what we're gonna do for those areas because guess what? They're gonna take over like the Arts of the Avenue. You have North Broad Renaissance, okay? And guess who's the executive director of the North Broad Renaissance? Guess who's over there? Your council president, Daryl Clark. Okay, you have Shalimar Thomas, who listen, I love dearly. She's done work when we collaborated together. But they're sitting on this board who's changing this because that's prime property. It's close to It's close to City Hall.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, it's not far. Why did they make it look so elaborate and so nice? Don't let them tell you because they put some lights in the middle of the street. No, they want to make it look just like everything else, and it's going to change. It's going to change.
I'm gonna. I got two more questions for you. I want to collab two questions into one, and then extra another one. So, like I said before, we have a felt leadership within our city because I feel like they don't support you unless they can control you. Um,
Right.
But I also have seen activists, people who have ran before. Hey Bernard, I'm actually glad that you got on. I'm gonna add you on after Joy. Um, or people that have ran for office, uh, or people that are just really dived into this community, helping and have been doing it for a very long time. Ask for their support, ask for their help, but never get a response, or never, or getting the runaround. Um, I call it a failed leadership. I really do. Um, and that just goes back to you saying that they're not a part of that clique. Um, what do you have to say to the political figures who
Uh,
you have reached, or you have seen people reach out to, that really needs to be supporting these people that are actually diving into the community and helping our community with their own resources, with their own money?
Yeah, so what I would say to you, first of all, none of the elected officials have any money, okay? Like money that they could just touch and deal with. As I said before, those monies that they receive has to be allocated through other organizations to get the work done. Now, who they choose to give that to, that's biased to me. Okay, that's a very biased process. Whoever sits on the board is a who you know, and I don't care what nobody say. Today, you can still pick up the phone and say, "I need you to put my application on top before I can, give those resources." So most of the time, if you, like you said before, if a person is not in alignment, or they're not getting union sponsored, or they're not connected to all these people who they have to answer to, you listen, you're gonna be cut off. If you're not in the ballroom tuxedo and your gown on, you're gonna be cut off. You outside knocking, trying to get in. That's just what it is. This is a very close knit, tight, corrupt, cliquish politics.
Yeah,
Okay, that's what it is.
it did.
It's no way to get around it.
Real quick, Charlotte, because if I'm not mistaken, and I haven't always seen eye to eye with the people that at one point you worked for or supported. If I'm not mistaken, you worked for Curtis Thomas at one point.
Yes, I did.
Um, I'm
You're
not
back.
names, but even with him being in that seat for 30 years, our community looks the same way that it did. I'm just 30 years ago, and
Way back when, right?
like I just really think that it's time for new leadership, and I'm going to urge that um, some of us start stepping up and start running. Period. Um, and that's just it. Real quick, and I'm gonna after this, and I'm gonna catch somebody else on, because I know it's a few people that are definitely want to get on.
Okay.
Let's talk about this presidential election.
Uh
I'm
oh.
so for the Biden Harris ticket, and I really want to be real clear. I think Joe is extremely old, and I don't think we need another old leader. I do think Joe is very experienced. What I do see is a lot of people throwing out the flaws that he has had, on the flaws that Kamala has had, or issues that they have addressed when they were attorney generals or senators or VPs before. Um, this is the thing: everyone has flaws, um, and everyone has made mistakes. I have, Barack has, which everyone looks up to Barack. Um, Even him, he has made flaws or mistakes, or had flaws and made mistakes. Um, what can you say to your base right now on that Biden Harris ticket? I think that is the best ticket that we have right now. But I'm not for it for Joe. I'm totally for it for Kamala. I think Kamala would have been a great woman president.
Yes, so this I have to deal with the cards that I have at hand. I have to deal with the cards that I've been dealt with. Okay? That to me complaining only pushes us further back. I think it's good for us to look into these backgrounds of these people who are talking about running, but we'll never be pleased because we'll never really have anyone who can stand up to that full. We'll know the right time when it comes. They're not smooth, they don't look good, they don't talk good. We don't I love what you said about experience. That's what I look for. That's very key to me, and I'm happy that his running mate is Kamala Harris. But I was rooting for Lakeisha Bottoms from the mayor. Like I love her. I would literally go and work for her. Like I would. Let's do the darn thing. She's showing people how to do it. She's one of those rising stars who I really respect. Susan Rice, I really didn't know much about her. I'm not gonna be, I'm gonna be honest. But at this point in time, while our viewers are very sensitive, I only speak to vote Biden Harris. That's what we need to be focusing on right
Yeah.
now.
Charlotte, I just want to thank you for getting on. And again, we'll have many more lives. We'll have many more calls and conversations that we definitely need to have this election up and future plans on making Philadelphia better. Before you get off, I just want you to just tell followers and your followers real quick, how can Philadelphia be better? Not just a political in a political way, but what do you see the vision for Philadelphia within the next 3 years?
A lot of times, how the saying like pull yourself up by your bootstraps. People hate that when you say that, and it's almost like I would say you need to have this mindset. No, it's people like me, it's people like you, and it's people like who you're about to bring on have to energize the people to give a darn about where they live at. Okay, that's number one. And we have to care for one another. We have to come together. We have to deal with our trauma, and we have to love our families. That's how we can make it better. And that's how the mindset changes when I can say, yo, listen, Mr. Philadelphia, you're not doing so well today. Let's do this. Let's do. We have to inspire each other.
Yeah,
That's how we can make it better. If we just start there, then everyone else will feel good about where they live, and they'll give a damn about where they live at. There you go.
Charlotte, thanks a lot for coming on. From the very first day that I've had conversations in reference to you, or when I first met you, you have been totally down to earth. I have been seeing the work that you've been doing. All of my followers, I urge that you guys follow her, add her on Facebook. She's been a really vocal person within our community on a lot of the issues that we spoke about today. And just keep up the good work, Charlotte.
Thank you. I can't wait to work with you in the near future. Take care.
Too.
Good luck to everyone else.
Joy, I'm going to try to add you in now. Let's add Joy in.